Hi everyone. Sorry, just before we start with this week's podcast, I want to apologize for the sound quality. We had a little bit of a technical difficulty. This is my third attempt of reloading it, so I hope you can make out what we're saying, and thanks for following our channel. Thank you. Hi everybody, welcome back. And here we are, me and Yvette again. And we first want to come from an apologetic standpoint to apologize for the Western medicine that's been deceiving people for so many years, purely to chase the next penny and the next dollar, because that is what it is. If you've seen the testimony of Rochelle on our previous podcast, you will know what can actually happen if you just give your body what it needs, and it's body, mind, and spirit, because there's other things too that might be affected. And today we're just going to have a discussion to see all these things that actually tie in. And like we said, coming from functional medicine, our actual term is root cause medicine, because so many people in the Western world are very quick to sell you a Band-Aid because they know next month you're going to come back for the same Band-Aid. And now you have got a repeat customer, and we don't want repeat customers. We want to give you the education and the knowledge so that you can go out there and you now become the teacher, because we're on a mission to change the world for the better.
Such an important talk. And this is something that's been on my heart for a while, Johann, because we as pharmacists get this question so often. People are constantly asking me, why do you think everybody is reaching out to the GLP-1 injections? Why do you think people are so crazy about getting a appetite suppressant? And the one thing that came to my heart was that in the Western medicine industry, as well as in the world of health and exercise, we've actually lied to people for so long. We've done such a disservice because we make people think that it's one little miracle. It's one little aspect. If you change that one thing, everything's going to be hunky-dory. And it is so disappointing that even in the times of people using the injections or the tablets or appetite suppressants, people come to the realization but it's not only one thing. When I've been asked that question, I really sat and pondered about this. And the thing that really came to my heart was, we have lied to people for so many years. We have been lied to. And only when you go down the road of really asking questions, why is it that I can eat less calories but I'm not losing weight? Why is it that I can walk a mile but my health is not getting better? So there's so many aspects. You come from the medicine world, like we are in the Western medicine, we give a prescription. You come from the health and exercise world. Oh no, you got to run a mile. So everybody's got a little bit of an anecdote or something they want to put in there. But at the end of the day, we are leaving people so frustrated, so they feel disheartened. And the one thing that people always tell me when I speak to them, some of my patients, is I've tried everything. And truly, I know they've tried a lot of things, but they've also tried a lot of things that we've been told is what corrects things. And yes, you and I spoke about this analogy of a car. So everybody, you want to drive this fancy sports car, and you want this to be in mint condition. Now, if you want to go any faster or you want it to go any better, you don't just change the wheels. You don't just add a little fin at the back or painted a sports car green color. Because doing all of those external things ultimately doesn't change the fact that you've not done anything to the engine. And if you and I both know, we've spoken about this before, is putting cheap gas into a very expensive vehicle. What are you going to do? You're going to damage it.
Yes.
And if there's one analogy that always comes back to me is us as humans, we've been taught to get the spoilers, to get the mags, to get the low profile tires. We tint those windows. Man, that car is decked out. But nobody lifted up the hood and said, okay, hang on. Let's service this engine and make sure we give it the right fuel. And if people can understand the concept of what we are talking about, it took you and me both to walk through this to realize it's not only one thing.
Yes.
And I'm glad you mentioned about Rochelle, because body, mind, and spirit, that is where it comes down to. Yes, there are changes to be made, but if you don't affect all those areas, you literally just tinted your car's windows.
Absolutely. And now talking about the tint in the car windows, it brings to mind, if you have a 1990 Toyota Corolla and you go to the drag strip and you lose horribly, now you go to the mechanic and they tell him, I don't want to lose horribly anymore. And they say, oh, but all you need is these new mag wheels. Think about that now. Go back to the drag strip. Guess what? You lose again. And you go back to the mechanic and he says, oh, yeah, well, you've got the mag wheels now, but to get that extra mile per hour out, you have to put the fin at the back of your car. Pretty soon, that little Corolla looks like something that belongs in a circus, and you're still not winning. And this is exactly what Western medicine have been doing. People come and we don't always want to talk about weight because we want to talk about health. But weight is one of the big indicators also of people's health situation.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to say, for many people, that can be a pretty emotional situation because they've tried, like you said, they've tried everything. They've been to this doctor and that doctor, and nothing seems to work for them. They keep on showing up at that drag strip. They do everything that the doctor / mechanic tells them to do, pays them a lot of money, and still, when they pull up to the start gate, nothing happens. But what if you take that little Corolla and you put a little reinforcement steel in it, and you replace the 1800 engine, and you put a massive V12 engine in it? Now you might have a fighting chance. Now, our bodies already have the V12 engine in it. But because we've been feeding it subpar fuel and subpar oil, the things that needs to keep this V12 engine running, it's been clogging up, it's been broken down. And there's pathways in our biological system and our neurological system and our emotional system that now don't work anymore, simply because we've been feeding it the wrong things. And it's not just, I'm not just talking about food. I'm also talking about what we see and hear. We have a set of eyes that take the world in. We've got a set of ears that take the world in, and only one mouth. And sometimes we need to sit down and just talk about something and get some of that junk out in order to get a few things working again. So, and we're not these gurus or psychologists, psychiatrists, whatever you want to call it. But we do listen to a lot of people working in a pharmacy. And they tell us, such and such happened in my life. And for some reason after that, I just could not shed the weight again.
And that's also, like you were saying there, plays a very strong psychological impact. Because believe it or not, when you and I have spoken to people and we take them back, one of the most important things is there is an instance that's an aha moment that either sheds light on the fact that you had a total misconception about your belief of yourself and what you can achieve, and also the crutches. You know, I always speak about the crutches. Well, my parents were like that. I was born into a family like that. Everybody looks like that. So important for people to realize that your belief system plays such a massive role in what you can achieve.
For sure. And the thing is, if you grew up in a family who did not take care of their bodies, and now you believe that this is the status quo, this is how our family is. Our family looks like this. It's a family trait. I cannot change this. And if grandma, mom, and aunt and uncle, they all had diabetes, so, oh well, it's probably just a matter of time before I'm going to get it.
Yep.
And Yvette, one day you said something that was so true. Something that gets passed on down generations more than genetics is a diet.
We eat the way our family eats.
Yep. And how many times have we heard that if you recommend to somebody, oh, they have to cut out all starches, including tortillas, they like, but I'm Mexican.
How can I do that?
Yes.
Well, something that's very apparent to me, and I'm really very glad that you mentioned is the fact that the medical world, we've made things simple in the sense of you only need this, but we've also made things complicated by telling you you don't understand everything. So on the one hand side, we're telling a person it's as easy as one thing that you're missing. But on the other hand side, when a person starts asking questions, we don't have answers. And I think that's what the confusing part is. Exactly like you said, it's going to be a matter of time and I'm going to be diagnosed with diabetes. But not telling the people, these are the things you can do. This is the test we can do to check where you're at. How can we reverse it? So on the one hand side, we've made it so complicated. But on the other hand side, it's like a ticking time bomb where the time will come and you will need to be on those drugs. Sorry, we can't do anything, but we can. And that is the part where I say it breaks my heart that we are lying to people where we know there's preventative things to be done and we don't do them. And that can change a generation. Doesn't matter how old you are, your kids, their kids, the grandkids. You know, we're in California on the beach at the moment. And it really is heartbreaking when you see little kids, and I'm talking 5, 6, 7-year-old. They're not running around like the other kids. They are literally tumbling around because they're so chubby. And you can see the kid is uncomfortable. And where does that originate from? There's many, many causes, but it's much easier to get the whole family turnaround than going on that same trajectory, because now you are getting a kid with very bad self-esteem, confidence, the way they think. There's so many things being impacted. And it honestly is, I feel like parents need to wake up, because if you want to leave your child a legacy, leave them a legacy of asking questions, being healthy, taking care of their health, those kind of things. Leave that legacy.
Remember the class we did where they said having your health is like printing money? Now, that is one of the things that is so true. And now I also feel if you have oversized kids, it is very easy to find someone or something to blame for it. Now, I'm not saying that there are not some people who have some definite endocrine problems, because that does exist. There are growth hormones. There's all these things that come to play a part in a kid's life that can cause that. But the percentage of all these overweight kids that actually have those problems is actually less than 5%. So think about it. And I know moms, dads, I don't want to point a finger at you, because I know life is not always easy. And sometimes if you have a nagging, whiny child, it's easier to just give them something out of a packet or grab the candy or the snack bar off the shelf in the grocery store just so that this kid can stop screaming. The bottom line is we don't do our kids favors. And I'm that parent. I did that. I'm not without guilt. But as time grew on, I figured out, sometimes we as parents, we put a lot of money in their bank in their health bank by sticking out that whining for a little while longer.
Mhm.
Rather, give them the satisfaction of, okay, put this candy bar in your mouth and just shut up and be happy.
Yeah. We saw that exact example yesterday on the beach with a little kid throwing a tantrum because the mom didn't want to buy him shaved ice. Now, honestly, that is the best money-making business I've ever seen. You shave ice and then you pour syrup, flavored syrup on there and you sell it for $6, $7. Good heavens. Great business model.
Yeah.
And
Great
all you're giving your child shaved ice with high fructose corn syrup on there. And it's not always, and I'm glad you pointed it out, it's not always the weight thing we're talking about. The weight is a result of things that come later. But it's the health-related aspect. Now this kid becomes, they act out, their personality changes. These kids are just completely off the walls. And this was because a kid threw a tantrum and they wanted their shaved ice with all that sugar water in there. You're doing your child a disservice by saying yes. We need to be better. We need to give them better options. So if you do run into that situation, okay, you can have either this or that, but you're not having that one.
Yeah, for sure. And the thing is, and the science geek is coming out, that high fructose corn syrup, if you think about that, and I think if more parents especially understand this, they might be able to make better choices for their kids, because that child don't understand. And frankly, they don't care. They would just want to stuff something in their faces that's going to make them happy. But high fructose corn syrup, fructose, cannot be used for energy in your body. It's not a sugar, it's not a glucose that actually can be turned into ATP. Your body don't do that with fructose.
So where does the fructose go, Johann?
That is where, when this child becomes 18, 19, 20, 30 years old, they go to the doctor and now they've got fatty liver disease.
And everybody says, but my child doesn't drink.
Because the only way your body can metabolize fructose is like it metabolizes alcohol, the exact same way. And actually, in a way, alcohol can maybe be a little better because it can still produce a tiny amount of ketone bodies that can be used for energy. But fructose, no, it goes straight into fat. And now this child goes to middle school or high school, and they're round. So start early in their lives so that they rather develop a love for healthy foods. And it's a palate thing. And unfortunately, we've talked about this before also. The amount of dopamine that sugar actually releases in your brain and in a child's brain is comparable to a hit of cocaine.
Yeah.
And so now that hit of cocaine needs to come, because without it, that child is not going to feel normal anymore.
And now I return back to my apology for the health and nutrition world, because you and I both have heard this, but I eat very healthy. And when I ask people, what is it that you eat? 99% of the time I want to fall off my chair.
Yes.
Because we have been marketed, we have been sold, we have been so targeted in health food. But you and I know it's not the food God made. It's not the food our bodies know exactly what to do with. So another misconception, which then leads on to, I've tried everything, Johann. My health isn't getting better. I'm eating watermelon and I'm eating fruit. I'm having all of those healthy things, but I'm not getting better. Besides having a weight-related issue, but my non-alcoholic fatty liver disease is not getting better. Yeah. So again, we have an industry that has impacted us in such a bad way by saying health food. You walk into a health food store, and how many of the stuff there is in boxes?
Yes.
Packets.
Plenty.
Pre-made.
Big organic signs on it.
Just add water.
Yeah.
It's not food.
And you think now that you buy organic, you're doing yourself a favor. It's probably got less pesticides in it. true. But what about these extremely high carbohydrate things that's in there? That is still going to cause a problem.
And that's just a small little sliver in the entire pie that's being addressed. Again, one little thing being addressed, and you think it's going to change your world. It doesn't.
No, absolutely not.
It's heartbreaking because every discussion that you have, whether it is health related with my children, whether it's my blood pressure is high, I'm not sleeping well, when you get back to the foundation of asking, why do you think that way? You and I both will know that there's a misconception and misinformation that has governed and ruled their life. And that eventually leads to worse things. And we've seen it. We've helped people roll that back and go, so you believe you were going to be this obese because your family was big. You believe you're going to have diabetes because everybody in the family had it. You're literally waiting for your heart attack to happen because it's in the family. And this is where I totally understand why people they would literally give up their food money to buy an injectable so that they could lose weight, because there's a whole lot of other benefits that are included in that. Cardiovascular health, people don't have sleep apnea. There's so many things that we get sold on. And I understand that. But it is not truly the answer. It's one sliver in the pie. What are you going to do about the rest? Like our car. You've got the new spoilers on. You've got the tinted windows. But your engine is not changed.
Yep, for sure. You know, what I feel is completely unfair when it comes to Western medicine. And I was just thinking about it because just yesterday, again, I had a customer come in with a prescription for X, Y, and Z. And he said, well, he asked his doctor if he can do this naturally, because he had cholesterol and he wants to lose weight and all these things. And he says, well, he doesn't really want to take the medicine, but he asked his doctor, what can he do on his own? And you know what the unfairness that came in is, and me and Yvette, we've been beating this horse to
flogging it
already, is the eat less and move more thing. So it's almost like, let's get back to the car. You come with your little 1800 Corolla and you want to compete in a drag race. And I tell you, okay, all you need to do is to basically rebuild this car. And you think, but this is totally impossible. And the move more, eat less phenomenon, I'm just telling you something now to go do this thing that is virtually impossible for you. Because there are some of our customers that come into the pharmacy, they can't move more because their knee joints have been so damaged already, they can barely stand there. And now you tell them, well, maybe you should go to the gym and get on that treadmill.
And that's actually the worst advice you can give a person, because their inflammation is so high that you put them in that situation, it'll take them a week to recover.
For sure.
And plus now we're putting a guilt trip on them.
Mm-hmm.
And you're not good enough. You're so lazy. Why can't you work out like everybody else? Why can't you get off the couch? Because you're hurting. It hurts. Every muscle, every joint, your knees, your shoulders, it hurts.
And you know, to me, it's almost like the perfect con artist. I have what will help you on my prescription pad. So you can do it on your own, but go do this impossible thing. And we both know that the studies that showed this that book, Good Calories, Bad Calories, they've tested it. People who now are going on this severely calorie restricted diet have less energy, where you tell them to move more. Now they move less because they've got less energy. And you tell the guys who actually go out to do extreme exercise and actually get to burn more energy, they start to eat more because their body now needs more energy, instead of telling them, let's start by changing the fuel and the oil that you put in your engine to see if we can create more energy so that you can move more. Because we always will tell you that exercise is not the alpha and omega. It does help. It does help. It definitely does help. We will never tell you to not exercise. But that is not going to move the needle on its own.
Because you make them fixate on one thing again. But I just had a very funny picture, and I think you might enjoy this in my mind. You know what it's like when you put good fuel in a car? It burns clean. There's no stutter, there's no poof, 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 there's no burning nothing. But when you start putting all these processed foods, a lot of high carbohydrates, a lot of processed meals, have you lived in a house with people that eat like that? Guess what they do? You know that car that drives in front of you on the highway and it's got this black fumes that it's coming out the back? Well, that's exactly what they do. It stinks. It's gassy because it's the wrong fuel for the car. And all of a sudden I realized how perfect that analogy is by giving you the right fuel and having everything there so that we always say so that all cylinders can run. But now you give it really some crappy corn oil and this thing splutters and futters and farts in front of you. And that's exactly what happens. But also to come back to that whole move more, eat less movement, at what point do you stop eating then?
Yeah.
Because if the needle doesn't move on the scale, or you're not feeling better, or you don't have enough energy, Johann, what happens? You go, what the hell? I might as well eat nothing.
Yep. And there is, you can lose weight by not eating anything. It's definitely not healthy, and you sure are not going to move more because you're not going to have the energy to move at all.
And you and I are very much,
damage.
Exactly. And fasting is something we talk about, but there's a way to do it. There's an approach to do it. But again, if you're not healthy, don't do stuff like that. If you don't have the nutrients in your body, if you're having blood pressure problems, if your heart is not well, all those things indicate that there's nutrients missing. It's not a shortage of an injection. But to come back to the fact that people reach for an injection so easy, I understand it. And I will never, ever chastise a person for doing it. Because 99.9% they have had no education. Can it help them to lose that 100 pounds? Can it help them to get some down? It does. It can. There's some people that do, there's some that don't. But you and I talk about longevity. We talk about living a life. And this is where we are now in the situation where a lot of people have been on these injections for a while. Needle's not going down. In fact, it's going up. We're seeing a lot of the really depressed, not feeling well, gallstones, thyroid issues. That's besides the point. We don't want to talk about that. But the fact is that in the beginning you were lied to. You weren't given hope. You were told this is absolute the answer for what I'm missing. And now down the road you see, but it's not all it was sold out to be.
Yeah. And if you are, I just want to put this in there, if you are on one of these injectable medications or peptides or what you want to call it, I want to put this out there. This is just my advice. You cannot rely on that for the rest of your life. Use that to create a window for you to start fixing your diet. And like my consultation with everybody who gets that from the pharmacy is, I tell them you have to absolutely prioritize protein. Because these medications will make you feel like not eating. So when you eat, you are going to have to eat protein. You will get fuller faster, but if you don't prioritize your protein, you're going to lose muscle. And also, if you start to prioritize protein, when you go off of these, you're already used to eating protein. And now you don't even need that injection anymore. Because think about it. There's a thing in the pharmacy law, the medication patent law. It only lasts for so long, then somebody can bring out a generic version of it. But what has happened in the past with several medications, when it gets close to that patent being expired, the manufacturer goes back to the FDA saying, well, since we registered this drug, so much time in research and development went past, which ate up some of our patent time. We want an extension of our patent. And they're not cheap, these medications. We're talking about $1,000 to $1,600 per month. And what is insurance going to do? Do they see the value in you losing that weight? No, they don't value your health. They value their bank account. And if they have to pay for that medication over and over again, it's not doing their bank account any good. And the insurance companies, this thing in this country, I feel is the worst thing that ever happened to healthcare, because they don't care about your health at all. They only care about making money, period. And I want to say, prove me wrong. And I'll show you instance after instance where their bank account was way more important than your health. There is no silver bullet. And what do we do in our practice, Yvette? We take you by the hand, and firstly, we've talked about eating less, moving more. We talked about the car analogy, putting the Band-Aids on, putting the spoilers on. And when you come into our practice, we actually tell you to eat more. And for Rochelle, that was a big shocker, because she came and she said, I'm eating all this food. What is happening? I'm supposed to be on a diet to lose weight and to get healthy, and you're making me eat all this food. I can barely get it in. And when she steps on the scale, 10 pounds down, another 10 pounds down. So once you build your body up, your body starts doing what it was designed originally to do. But what we've been doing, we've been feeding our bodies these almost nutrient-free stuff. It's not, you can't even call it fuel or food. You can't even do that because it's not doing much for you. It's actually detrimental. It takes your body backwards. So if anybody listens to this and they want to come into our practice to see what this is worth, we usually post the links in the bottom in the show notes. Hit us up. If you saw Rochelle's testimony, that is exactly what we do. And we love seeing the transformation. Our motto is transformations that last. We don't want to sell you a quick diet.
But we don't want recurring customers. That's the difference between what we do on a daily basis with what we do over here. And the aspect of people being at the point now where they've been on a journey with losing weight and they don't want to, could be financially, could be medically, psychologically. There's many reasons where you want to transition into a lifestyle. This is where we want to help. Because Johann and I both believe that your belief system about yourself is the most important thing. Can I do this? Can I make this change? And then we can take you by the hand to show you how you can do this. And then we know for a fact that many ways of thinking, ways we were brought up, things we were told, sold, believed, we need to break those. Johann and I both went through that. There were so many things that was the biggest wake-up call for me. I've got to eat more so I can be healthier. I never understood that until I actually did that. So if that's where you are and you really feel, I need this change because I cannot go down the same road. I cannot afford this. This could lead to worse things, which we don't even know. There's a lot of long-term study things that are coming out. We don't know all of this stuff. We're learning about it. But if you don't want to be part of those statistics, let us help you.
Yes.
And that's our heart, because we've been lied to in so many aspects of being healthy, of looking good, even in the whole cosmetic world and all of that, We saw somebody in Rochelle who her skin, her face, her look changed so much. She didn't need to go for fillers. She didn't need to go for another facial, Botox, any of that stuff. It's because the external reflection was going on internally that had changed. So even if that's one of your aspects where I want my hair to look better, my nails, my skin, this will be the way we can help you. We definitely can see that, because you and I have both, one of the problems with the injections that I hear so often, and it breaks my heart when women say, well, I've lost most of my hair, but at least I've lost weight. And I'm dumbfounded.
Yeah.
I would not want to settle. I'll get a wig, but at least I've lost weight. So it's so huge.
Yeah, it's really sad, because if you think about it, people are willing to sacrifice one thing for another. And usually when they lose the hair, also because they don't eat enough protein. And nobody tells them that. I have a customer who came in, and I started telling him, okay, prioritize protein. Make sure you check your diet. And he said, well, he eats a really good, healthy diet. And he starts naming the things that he's eating. I thought, no, you've got it all wrong. Don't try to get your protein from lentils. There's very little protein in lentils.
Again, marketing and branding one, Johann.
I tell you, it was heartbroken. And when I start telling him no more bread, no more pasta, no more tacos and tortillas, he goes, I love Mexican food. I said, well, take the taco, take everything out of it, eat that, and throw the taco away. And he goes, I guess I can do that. But really, yes. And that's at least a start.
It is honestly, it's like a minefield we walk through for people, because it's all these things we tell them seems like it's going to explode. It's not. We can guide you through this. There's so many misinformation. There's so much that we've been told that's not the truth. It's honestly disturbing. Even when I think back to stuff that came out of my mouth.
Yeah.
And I think, where did I even learn that? Most of it was in the news. It was maybe in a magazine, or somebody told somebody. None of it was founded, because common sense left the building. And then what do you replace it with? Media, marketing, branding, sales. It plays such a huge role, and especially here where we advertise drugs, which makes it it normalizes it. And it upsets me, because there's a place for medicine. There's a place to use it. It plays an integral part, but not at the extent of what it is being abused.
The media is such a powerful tool that can be used for good, but it's been used to abuse people in order to get the money out of their bank accounts. And that is a sad thing.
And, we'll share about another patient of ours in a while. We've got some photos, and maybe we can get her on as well. She lives in another part of the world. How a couple of changes in how life happened, making better choices, how totally turned this young girl's life around. And again, it wasn't one thing. It was a few things. Are they doable? Yes. Is it tough to make a choice? It is. Are you willing to do it? That's the question you have to ask yourself. Because most of the people we deal with, when you start giving me your excuses, then I know we have a made-up mind, and you do not have any faith and belief that you can actually live and be at a 100% productive, full of energy, sleep well, be awake well, function. At any age.
It all comes down to how much do you want it. If you don't start wanting good health and lose, a lower number on the scale when it's too late, when you already can't move, Start doing something about that now. Rather, paint a vision of yourself 20 years from now, still being strong, still being healthy, and put some money in that bank today so that you can live off the interest when you're older.
Well said. Very well. I can honestly see that. When you look at grandparents being able to do things with their grandchildren, that is a blessing. That honestly is. Honestly, something for people to think of and keep in mind, especially at our age and getting older. You want to be able to do things, move things, think things. That's another aspect you and I've seen a lot of, the effects and the changes on the mood, the emotions, the manner in which people can take in knowledge and be able to give it out when you have a good, healthy body. It makes a huge difference. Mm-hmm.
Makes a huge difference. And it makes it much easier for me to communicate with you if you actually understand what I'm saying.
I know this is honestly something that you reminded me of so many times, and I have to think about it always. When people are not in a very healthy situation, there are many aspects affected. You know, it could be kidney failure at that point. We have heart, cardiovascular related issues, blood pressure, sugar. And I honestly have to remind myself that cognitive function is affected by all of those things. And I sometimes have to explain something not once, not twice, not 4 times, sometimes 7, 8 times before saying the same thing in a different way. It's got nothing to do with a person's IQ, but it's literally the inflammation of the brain and their inability to understand what I'm saying. And it has given, I've had to learn to stand back because I can be very impatient. We all know. I can be very, come on, get that. And giving them grace and saying, okay, you don't understand it this way, so let's look at it in another way. And every time I do it, it reminds me of what you've said when you've counseled patients and you see there's nothing. There's no understanding because I'm on the phone, you in person, and it's really given me that little bit of patience. Okay, let's try this a different way. But those are all part of what we're talking about.
Yeah. And we can probably talk at least another hour about brain inflammation and what's causing it and how we can prevent it and what the ultimate effects are. Because people run to the doctor so quickly for antidepressants, ADHD medicines, you name it. And I don't want to say this, that if you're taking those, that you don't need it, because there are some people who I'd rather have them take it because I've seen the effects of them not taking it. But to step it back, where's the origin? What's the cause? That is why we're in functional medicine. What's the root cause? And many times, if you fix that root cause that actually brought you to the place where you're at, these symptoms go away and you don't really have to be on those medications anymore. But like I say, that's probably a talk for another day because we're already at 46 minutes and we don't have another hour.
No. So, to get down to the basics of what we've spoken about, it's very much on Johann and my heart that if you want to be helped, we can certainly step in. We can help you. You can book an appointment with us. We can talk with you, see if there is something that we can help you with. If you want lifelong changes, you want a transformation that lasts, you want to see results that are permanent, not connected to your 30-day prescription. So give us a shout out, look at our calendar and we can speak with you because we do believe that there's a massive movement of people that need to be woken up to see that drugs, eating less, moving more, health food, all that whole thing is not the only answer. There's a much bigger thing, and it's actually very easy if we can teach you about your own body. Because ultimately, at the end of the day, we want you to know how things work.
Yes.
And you will be a much better steward of this that God has given you.
100%. That is so well said, Yvette. Thank you so much for putting that in. And I want to say, if you need help, get help. If you don't want to talk to us, talk to somebody. But get on our calendars, because we'll be glad to help you. And we would be the first ones to tell you if you have a problem that we cannot help you with.
Mhm.
We're not so absolutely eager to just grab everything that you have and to try and put a spoiler on you or change the mags on your car. If we can change your engine so that you can actually win that drag race, then we'll tell you, that is something we cannot do. But from my experience, 90% of those issues is something that we can help you with. So just explore it. Let's see where this goes.
Thank
That
you,
is it
Johann. This
for us.
has been
Yes.
so nice. It's good to have a chat again. And thank you, everybody. So we will be seeing you soon.
Yes, absolutely. Take care, everyone. Views and opinions expressed on this podcast are our own and are intended for educational and informational purpose only. This podcast does not provide medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. The information shared should not be used as a substitute for professional medical advice from your personal health care provider. Always consult your physician, pharmacist, or qualified health professional before making any changes to medications, supplements, or health regimens. We are also promoters of Neolife Nutritionals, beauty, and household products, and this stems from our knowledge of their purity and the company's reputation to provide products of outstanding quality. While we may discuss our experiences in the retail pharmacy setting and share insights into functional medicine, our conversations reflect our professional perspectives and personal opinions, and not those of our employers, affiliated organizations, or licensing boards. By listening to From Pills to Purpose podcast, you acknowledge that you are responsible for your own health decisions and agree that the host and guests are not liable for any outcomes resulting from the use of the information discussed in this podcast.